too hot. It is getting too
hot. In the hole. Keep that oil in the soil.
And why are you here today?
I'm part of a campaign which is encouraging universities to take their financial investments out of the fossil fuel industry. So institutes like LSE, like King's College London, UCL, Imperial, Goldsmiths, and many of the institutes in London have millions of pounds invested in the likes of BP, Shell, and ExxonMobil.
As the principal of this university, it is too hard, and business is too good.
So we're concerned environmentalists, we're worried about climate change. We don't think public institutions who are committed to sustainability and being good citizens should be funding these companies and profiting from the major drivers of climate change.
the power of wind, for example. It is safer, cleaner, and cheaper.
What we've kind of encountered so far with the campaign is that there is this real kind of conflict between this kind of compelling science and then the business as usual kind of rhetoric.
Soaks up this extra CO2 with its not yet invented magical abilities of carbon capture and storage.
How can we possibly stop using fossil fuels when business is too good?
It's too good!
So what we tried to do in this kind of little play that we put together is show that kind of dichotomy between the two. But what we really wanted to emphasise is that the science and the activism and the student campaigns, they're growing by the day, to the extent where they're actually causing a lot of disruption in the fossil fuel industry. And we're changing the dialogue, we're changing how people are just making this discussion. We're very serious that the business model of fossil fuel companies is incompatible with a future stable climate. And our campaign is adding voice to the compelling science which has been building over the last 2 to 3 decades or so.
We must keep 80% of all known coal, gas and oil reserves in the ground. This is because if all of these reserves are used to make energy, this will emit 5 times the amount of carbon dioxide that can be safely absorbed by the Earth's atmosphere. If all these reserves are used, this will cause further global warming and catastrophic climate change.
Oil is very cheap, but I think we're not looking at this primarily from an economic argument. Even though there are huge incentives for investors who are worried about climate change, also worried about the investments because of the price of oil being very cheap. That's actually an encouragement for people to take their money out of the industries. But if there's going to be a global agreement to reduce emissions, that means 80% of all known fossil fuel reserves will have to stay in the ground. So if you've got investments in these companies, that means you're sitting in what's known as a stranded asset, because all of these investments are essentially worthless. If these companies cannot burn their main kind of source of profit because of an international deal, it means that they're going to be essentially worthless. And that's what we're illustrating. But our main concern is that climate change is happening now.
This summit makes a great point. How can we keep investing in fossil fuels if it's going to lead us towards catastrophic climate change?
This side. This is bullshit! This is bullshit!
They went to their university and asked them to divest and to take their money out of the fossil fuel industry.
As the principal of this university, it is too hard, and business is too good.
Climate change is happening now. And we have, with our money, with our support of these companies, we can encourage them to do the right thing at the right time.
And our political leaders failed to act. A fateful tug of war began to unfold.
It's too hot! It's too hot!
Business is
Significantly, we think the fossil fuel industry is a dead industry. It's a dinosaur industry.
I mean, I make $100,000 a day trying to find new carbon reserves in really ecologically sensitive regions of the world.
suckers!
Talking about putting our money into the future, into the solutions so that we can have a sustainable future on a stable planet.
Thank you very much indeed.
With each passing day, more and more students turn the right side of history, leading the fight against climate change through their resistance and stripping the fossil fuel of their social license and integrity.
Too greedy!
Too greedy! Too greedy! Too greedy!
And after, the students helped make fossil fuels history with their divestment campaign. They all lived happily ever after.
As the principal of this university, I think we should invest in a renewable future. I have always said so. Sustainability is the future.